we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of Tales from the Forlorn Dopes. I am one of the hosts, Cybersmily.
I am the other host, Wisdom. Very glad to be here today. Greetings, programs. Man, we've got an exciting episode today. We've got an interview with one of the all-time greats in the gaming industry, not just with Artal Saurian, but just about every company worth shaking a stick at.
Yeah.
We are joined today by Mr. Craig Sheely.
I wish. There's a bunch I didn't work for that I wish I had.
Well, we will have you expand on that very shortly.
Yes. So first off, let's go through your credits. So for Cyberpunk and Artal Saurian, we were a contributor to Chromebook 2, 3, and 4, Maximum Metal, Firestorm Stormfront, Firestorm Shockwave, Home of the Brave, Listen Up Your Primitive Screwheads. You got a blurb for Rach Bortmus's Brainware Blowout, so I'm not sure where the original source is coming from.
I was the editor. Double yikes, triple yikes.
And you also did Solo of Fortune 2. You also worked on Mechton, Starblade Battalion, Mechton Wars 1, Invasion Terra, Mecha Manual 2, Invasion Terra Files. You also did Toric Paranoia with Storm Shooters and Troubled Knights. You also did some supplements for Car Wars, specifically around Uncle Albert's Catalog from Hell, Aero Duel.
If I may expand on there. Some supplements. Yeah, you can say that. I worked on Aero Duel. I basically completed Aero Duel. And Car Wars Tanks was, I have to own up to it, mine from start to finish.
The military vehicle guide.
I wish I could rewrite that. I know so much more now.
Damn.
Yep.
Yeah.
You also worked on...
no.
You also worked on Twilight 2000? Sorry.
Yeah, I did some Twilight 2K stuff and an awful lot of Dark Conspiracy stuff.
Yeah. I only saw one reference for you, and it was that Empathic Source book, but...
the Empathic Source book, I contributed to the Dark Races.
Okay.
Didn't do much on Dark Tech. Alas, Dark Conspiracy didn't have as long of a run as we'd hoped it would.
Yeah.
You guys want to hear? You want to hear a really bad confluence of events? I'll keep it short. Dark Conspiracy started in about a year before a little-known, short-run, no one cared about it TV show called X-Files.
Oh.
Nobody cared about it.
Right, no one cared. About the time that X-Files was getting into its swing, GDW died.
Yeah.
Man, we came this close, guys, to being the quasi-official X-Files game. So close.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was also close with Traveler and Firefly, right?
Firefly. You mean Will Wheaton is a massive Traveler fan?
Yeah.
Heck yes.
You also worked on... I just want to get through your credits, and then we have a questionnaire for you. So you also worked on Neverworlds. I saw that you had...
I didn't work on that one. I don't think.
Well, you're listed on it from a source I found.
The Neverworld 4 and the Culture Book for Rublug.
No, that's not me, I'm afraid.
Huh. Interesting.
Craig Sheely running around.
Miscredited.
Actually, funny story. There actually is.
Oh, really?
Really gone into writing. I met him at Gen Con 93.
Oh, well,
interesting.
Shit.
It's like Doug Anderson.
It goes back to family genealogy. A distant relative, the first one to hit, the one that came over from Germany, abandoned one family and started another. Real great guy.
Yeah. So did you work on Tales from the Floating Vagabond? HyperCAD 54?
TF2V, yes, I did. My best work, HyperCAD 54, where are you? Writing comedy is the most excruciatingly difficult thing I've ever done.
Really?
Yes.
You consider that your best work, though?
And I have gone through kidney stone removal. Trust me, writing comedy was worse.
Jeez. Also, from the credits I was able to scrounge up, you also worked on I always get this wrong. Taslanthe.
Taslanthe, yeah, I had some stuff in there.
So that's the stuff I was able to find that you contributed to.
That's the bulk of it, yeah.
Okay.
What are we missing?
Oh, minor stuff like all the stuff I did for Challenge Magazine, magazine stuff. Challenge Magazine and the Space Gamer. So many, over 100 capsule reviews.
I loved Challenge Magazine. I loved it more than Dungeon or Dragon Magazine or any of the other. Like, Challenge was fantastic.
Challenge tried to take over the Space Gamer's role and did a pretty good job at it, I must say.
Well, I thought Challenge was a competitor to Dragon too.
Not really.
Well, for like once Dragon started doing strictly D&D, yeah. I saw Challenge as being really a more independent, inclusive magazine for any role-playing game.
They had rules and adventures for like all sorts of different games, including Cyberpunk. Like, there's several good adventures that got published in Challenge. Lisa Spellman, one of the authors for the Forgotten Realms books, put out a couple of adventures through them.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, we had some really great ones there.
Yeah. So
including one of mine that just miffed Frank Chadwick of GDW. I took his Merc 2000 game and kind of wrote up a Merc 2000 adventure that I stuck a bunch of, well, let's just say the target turned out to be the bugs from the insectoid aliens from
Starship Troopers?
No. French. The GDW game. I can't remember. Not Twilight.
Oh, the Gene...
No. Sorry, so many games running around in my head, I sometimes miss out on the name. The one Lester Smith wrote. Their horror game. The one I was talking about with the empathic story. Huh?
Dark Conspiracy?
Yeah, Decon.
Yeah.
I called it Decon. Kill Bugs Dead.
Huh, nice.
But I stuck the insectoid aliens in it, and I got a stiff note from Frank saying, "Don't put that fantasy in my fantasy." He didn't say his fantasy. Don't put it in my game, but I'm going, Merc 2000 is a fantasy game, Frank, and you know it.
Yeah. Before we continue, we have this little questionnaire. We call it the Full Auto Questionnaire. It's short, quick questions and with short, quick answers. Hopefully, we can keep on track. Trust me, I try to rein the people in on some of the questions because a lot of them can get out of control. Anyways, so first question: 2013, 2022, or 2045, or 2077?
I always like 2020 better. Much more detail. It's what I worked on.
Yep.
We had a whole bunch of really talented people working in there.
Exactly.
Truly.
Your favorite Cyberpunk role?
Mixed. I never did believe in the single role thing. Thought it was too much like character classes from D&D.
Yeah.
That's why when I did Interlock Unlimited, I gave rules for, you can pick as many roles as you want and just mix them in. If I
may, my favorite was from a friend of mine. He was my best player. I still run games for him. And his was a combo. It was solo / netrunner. I called it intrusion specialist.
Nice.
And he actually made it into both Chromebook and into 77. Do you guys ever use a net running tool in there called Multiman?
I think I have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little. It's a side computer that actually does stuff for you.
Right.
While you're online. That was mine, And the quote in there, multi-man does it every time. That's my friend's quote.
Beautiful.
Cool. Moving along. Favorite piece of cyberware?
Probably the baseline, the neural implant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, it's necessary for everything.
Favorite cyberpunk weapon?
Favorite weapon in almost any technological game? Shotgun. The all-purpose
What's
weapon.
wrong with that?
Hey, it's the 80 caliber. The 12 gauge shotgun is the 80 caliber grenade launcher.
Yep. Favorite cyberpunk red or 2020 book?
Ooh, 2020 book. Okay, all right. There's only one that comes up. Night City Source book.
That is by far the most popular answer among everybody. Yeah. We agree.
Least favorite cyberpunk red or 2020 book?
Ooh. Does it have to be official Artel?
No.
Okay. There was a book, I've still got it. This was early 90s, the vampire craze was everywhere. There was a book on vampires and
Night's
werewolves.
Edge.
Cyberpunk. Yeah.
Okay.
I took one look at it and go, oh boy, a simple thermograph is going to throw up an awful lot. If you don't have enough body heat, you show up blue. There's our vampire in a sea of red, guys. Get him.
So the next couple of questions are around the Edgerunner anime. Lucy, Rebecca, or Kiwi?
Lucy.
David, Maine, or Pilar?
You know, just because of episode 6 or 7 where they showed some of Maine running, I have to go with Maine.
Nice.
I agree. Maine was the coolest dude in the show.
Favorite Night City gang?
Oh, dang. I can't remember the name of them. Either the guys with the top hats that pull pranks.
Philharmonic Vampires?
Philharmonic Vampires or the Bozos. Either one is good.
Okay.
Favorite mega corporation?
Gosh, for a game master's point of view, the big three. Biotechnica, Militech, and Arasaka.
Favorite cyberpunk movie?
Sense.
Favorite cyberpunk movie? Fudge. Tron.
Oh,
Tron. That's
Tron.
a good
Nice.
choice.
Favorite cyberpunk fictional character? It doesn't necessarily have to be with the game. It can be.
If I may make a quote from Tron, my favorite quote, I never should have written all those tank programs. Okay, favorite fictional cyberpunk character. It was from a Gibson book. The computer, Wintermute.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, that is a good character.
Dick, Gibson, Stevenson, or Sterling?
None of the above. I'm really picky when it comes to my authors.
Who's your favorite cyberpunk author?
That's the thing. I don't know any favorite cyberpunk authors. I don't. Okay. The reason I chose Wintermute was the best developed character, the best developed Gibson character I ever saw. The rest of them were all cardboard cutouts at best.
Yeah, I can see that.
If you want good sci-fi authors, my top two are Pornell and H. Beam Piper.
I'll check those out.
I'm not familiar with either of them.
Read some Piper books. They're easy. They're from the 60s, but he's a good author, and somehow or another, the man has the ability to, in 2 or 3 sentences, give a character personality. I don't know how he does it.
I'll check it out.
I like that.
Favorite cyberpunk novel?
I'm afraid I don't really have any.
Oh, no worries.
Favorite cyberpunk comic or graphic novel?
Oh, well, if you were looking for cyberpunk graphics, there's only one choice, Ghost in the Shell.
That's a pretty good choice. I'm more of a fan of Appleseed, but Ghost in the Shell is solid.
And,
Ghost in the Shell is Cyberpunk 2030, guys.
Yeah.
It is. It absolutely is.
And remember I talked about the multi-man?
Yeah.
In the episode where the Major breaks into the Decatonkia, the Tachikomas are acting as her multi-men.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah, no, Ghost in the Shell is solid.
Is Shadowrun Cyberpunk?
No. Shadowrun
My man.
Shadowrun is, we want our magic with our technology, which shows that people don't understand it. J.K. Rowling may be at a lot of grief for her stances on gender basis, but she did get one thing straight. Technology trumps magic. If you guys remember Prisoner of Azkaban, when the Ministry of Magic put out a warning that I forget the guy's name, is loose and he is armed with a firearm, he is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Before you can whip out your wand and say Expelliarmus, I put 4 rounds in you, and I'm a very poor pistolier.
Yeah, and like you brought up earlier, that thermograph beats vampires, and there's just nothing I've seen in Harry Potter that couldn't be outdone by modern technology.
Exactly. Technology is using replicatable reality instead of trying to bend reality. If you guys had ever played White Wolf's game Mage, you would see they actually had a real good idea of that. Basically, they said, don't go up against someone with a gun. They will kill you before you get your spell off.
Yep.
Next question, please.
That's it. That's the questionnaire, man. So now it's just us asking, normal questions, and you can go off we can go off on a tangent on whatever subject we want.
I'll try not to go off on too many tangents. I come from a line of school teachers, guys, and I can talk for hours.
Yeah. Oh, that's what we do.
That's okay.
And Bill.
Rants and tangents are our bread and butter.
Yeah. So to get if you want to ask the question.
Yeah. How did you originally get into tabletop gaming?
1971 with an Avalon Hill game called Kriegspiel.
That is going way back.
Oh, okay, guys, I'm 64.
Got a few years on me.
So with an Avalon, okay, and then I went into Panzer Blitz. My older brother had a copy of Panzer Blitz, and I'd been a warfare and conflict buff since I was very young, like 4. And so I got into that. I actually bought, before role-playing games showed up, I had bought Panzer Leader and Avalon Hill Starship Troopers.
Oh, nice.
Great game. Wish that it was out for computer. It would make the most wonderful solo game, SST would.
That is a hard sought-after game these days.
I'm keeping mine. No one gets it.
Yeah, I bet.
After that, I got introduced to D&D in college, like everyone else, standard entrance. But after that, and talk about lucky convergence. I guess that GDW's luck ran out with Dark Conspiracy and X-Files because their luck started off with a meteoric rise. In 1976, they brought out Traveller.
Yep.
What happened in the summer of 1977 cinematically?
Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
What
was I saw it 4 times that summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at college, it was the year I went into college. At college, they had this tape running, Hardware Wars. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $3 goodbye.
Basketball is a peaceful planet.
I don't understand you.
Ham Solo.
Yes, golly.
Yeah.
Oh lordy, that was.
So you were mostly a war gamer, or you?
I was a war gamer. Got into role playing.
Yeah.
Bought into Traveller. We were fortunate. I was very fortunate that one of the local colleges, we had 6 in town back then, had a gaming club that was sponsored by a couple of the professors, and I got introduced to an awful lot. I got introduced to double-blind Panzer Blitz. Woo, did that slow the game down. Suddenly, you weren't... If you don't know where the enemy is, you get cautious quick. Miniatures gaming, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I got corrupted quick. I was already on the pipeline, so the corruption flowed quickly.
Yeah. So from all your credits and like specifically, like even with because I haven't read all the stuff you've put out, but just from listen up, you primitive screwheads. I mean, it seems like you were very tuned into like military operations and combat tactics. I didn't know if you served or just a historian.
I've been following military history since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about it. Like I would love to rewrite Car Wars Tanks, because in the last 30 years, I have learned so many things that I did wrong. And I would rewrite it for free. If you're listening, Steve Jackson, I will rewrite that sucker for free, man.
I don't think we've gotten Steve to start listening to our podcast.
I know,
maybe
it might go back to him. I told him this, but I've got no response. I would rewrite that for free.
I mean, you would think with his penny pinching ways, he'd be all about that deal.
I don't know. Evil Stevie isn't producing that much nowadays. And by the way, there's a joke there. Evil Stevie. Hey, now I have a quasi-national or international forum. Back in the day, back in the 80s, Space Gamer, Steve Jackson ran a little column called Where We're Going, a little one-page or one-half-page column. Basically, what Steve Jackson Games is doing this month. Kind of adverts and little press releases. No sweat. Well, they did a April Fool's issue, and he decided to play along with it, and called the column "We're Real Gone," and he signed it Evil Stevie. I have called him that ever since.
Nice.
So when you were working with Altor Sorian, did you actually like work close by, or was it kind of like one of the remote jobs?
No, they're in California. Yeah. I work out of Missouri. I've lived here my whole life.
Oh, what part of Missouri?
Springfield, Missouri. 70 miles roughly northwest of Branson.
Yeah, you're just north of me. I'm in northwest Arkansas right now. But I used to live in Kansas City. So yeah, I would go through Springfield all the time.
Yeah, well, I'm up here. Come by sometime.
Shit, next time I'm up there, I may take you up on that.
Yeah, just come by sometime, and sit down and yak for a while.
Oh yeah, I would definitely love that.
And see my Cyberpunk collection.
I mean,
oof.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can impress Derek. I mean, he's got.
If I may make a plug for a Cyberpunk game.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have looked over Gangs of Night City. I have seen it, and I haven't played it yet. But from what I've seen, buy it.
Yes.
It's a good game.
I have it, and to me, it's worth the money just for the miniatures.
It's like retails for 110. You guys know what a regulation war game, like Starship Troopers. Let's say something like Starship Troopers. It would go for $75 to $90 today. I bought mine at $15 in 1976.
Ooh. Yeah, I want that game so bad it hurts. There's no funds left.
I know. Well, it'll be around a while. That's the thing I like. It hasn't been Kickstarter one run and done. It's actually available I saw it over at the local game store, and they can order it in. Huzzah! Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, someday I'll have it.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know quite where I'll put it, but I'll fit it in somewhere.
Yeah, to me it was a no-brainer, because I think it comes with 44 or 49 miniatures, all 32 millimeter size.
with Gangs of Night City. Now, this is not the other Night City Street Brawl game that's available.
Yeah, Combat Zone.
This is a Euro game.
Yeah, the board game.
Combat Zone.
Right, Combat Zone. Thank you. That's it. And I'll have to get Combat Zone. Okay, at Gen Con in 1993, I hauled in a bunch of our Ralph Partha miniatures, Ralph Partha and Rafa miniatures, to try to do a Combat Zone game for our TAL.
Nice.
To do a scenario using interlock rules. But the problem with Gangs of Night City is that the figures are polyurethane, that bendy plastic.
Yeah.
It don't paint worth a darn.
Oh, you've tried?
I've tried painting out polyurethane figures for many years. Here's the problem: any kind of paint that you put on any kind of paint, period, is a rigid skin, guys. It doesn't give, so it breaks and flakes. Right. Now, for a while there, Fantasy Flight was doing Dust, the war game, and they had polyurethane sort of figures, but they baked on a primer, and somehow or another that holds the paint. Nice, weird War II game, by the way.
I've seen people have some measure of success using different dyes, but that is such a painstakingly precise method of doing something that it just never seemed worth it to me.
The industrial method of coloring polyurethane, like for Star Wars miniatures or the D&D line, with those, what you do is you literally paint on a different color of plastic and then apply the catalyst.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
they're not painting, they're just gobbing on plastic.
Right. Yeah, I'll experiment. I'll figure out something.
Good luck. Now, I believe that Combat Zone, theirs are a more rigid plastic.
Yes, it is.
They may be ABS plastic, just from an old modeler. And yes, I started my modeling in 1969 from an old modeler. If it is indeed ABS plastic, you're going to need a liquid glue. Plastic Magic is the best on the market.
Yep.
Because the regular tester's glue in the orange bottle or the orange tube that I've used since 1969 don't work. But before we go down that rabbit hole, and let's face it, modeling is an infinite rabbit hole. Do not get me started on Gundam models.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, no. That's
a different universe.
Yes.
That is the Japanese equivalent of Warhammer 40K collecting. You're just never gonna. That is a money sink you will never recover from.
Looking over at my shelves of 1 Year War Xeon Mecha. Shelves.
Yeah.
I know Zaku's inside and out now. Oh, actually, not really. I haven't gotten a perfect grade yet. 1/60th scale, which is about the scale of Combat Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's the model is a foot tall. You build the entire thing inside and out, and when you put the armor on, it will come off so that you can see the inside. And nice. there are inspection panels, maintenance panels on this thing that open up. You build the pistons on the panels, guys.
Oh, Jesus.
You build the pistons on the wrist, on each wrist. Each finger, each piece, or each joint of the finger is an individual joint with multiple pieces.
Lord.
Those are display models.
This is Sanity Lost Territory, and it's not even the worst that Bandai offers.
Yeah, this one con that I go to
utterly insane.
Runs a BattleTech event, and he uses like the Bandai and Revel models to play it out, and then he does the 28mm infantry to help in the fight.
That would work. The Rebels were 1/48 scale.
Yep.
I still have mine from the 80s.
Yeah, and he has cardboard buildings, and it's a mammoth of a board.
It would be a mammoth of a board. You're talking a gym floor.
Yeah. Well, it's close combat, but
Yeah.
it's still fun.
I hear you. Oh, yeah, that's wonderful.
So how did you first started or got to work with Altar Sorian and Mike Pondsmith?
How did I start with Artel Sorian? Well, I got into Mechton in the 80s. And then when Cyberpunk 2013 came out, I got that. Or I got in. I think I wrote him some stuff for Chromebook 2. That's where I got my start. I think so. I just I fell into that one.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've been talking to a lot of the old authors, and I sounds like you have a few more years on the rest of these guys, but it sounds like a lot of them were like, college grads or just getting out of college or in college at the time. And
I was in my early 30s and already had a bunch of Car Wars stuff.
Yep.
Out on there, and some decon stuff.
I tell you what, back in the late 80s, early 90s, the Car Wars stuff fascinated me because their supplemental material came in those little bitty cases, the plastic cases.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so cool and so different from any of the other role-playing stuff that was coming out.
Steve's pocket cases.
Yeah.
A really good idea. Not only was it a great trademark, but it harked back to his original Ziploc bag games.
Yeah. They were just so cool. It sucked me in. I mean, back then I wasn't even playing role-playing games. They were just there in the game store where, you bought board games and books and whatever. And just the idea of them, the concept of Car Wars blew my mind. And at the time, I was getting a bunch of role-playing game supplements for games I was never going to play. Like, I had a complete run of the Marvel stuff and the DC stuff. I had the entirety of Spy. What was it? Top Secret. And of course, Robotech. I was a fiend for anything even remotely Robotech related.
Yeah. Yeah. Got in trouble with Simbeta once.
Yeah, I can believe that. What's his face? Kevin Symbieta is. Mm-hmm. He's a pretty litigious guy.
I wrote up a scenario for a little fanzine out of California, a Robotech scenario, and he started burfling at us. And I'm sitting here going, "Geez, Kevin, you don't appreciate free advertising?"
Yeah, that's always blown my mind how he will attack these dudes who put in all this work, these total projects of the heart, and then just trash him because he's not profiting off it, even though he actually is, because they're advertising his product.
Oh, it's even worse. I put in a scenario for most Payback. The Invid invasion thing.
Yeah.
I wrote a scenario up for it, and I specifically said, which is what you did in those scenarios, you need these books to play this game, to play this scenario. And I'm going, holy cow! I'm pimping for you, Simbeta. How he pronounces his name. I'm actually shilling for you, man. Don't kvetch about it. Just because someone's doing it and you don't have to pay them.
He shut down the great, I don't know if you guys remember it, but the Macross Mecha Compendium?
Yeah.
That statted out every frickin' vehicle you could possibly find in the entire Macross saga up to that point, plus Robotech stuff, which, Southern Cross, Mosfeta, and he shut them down. What the hell?
Okay, in his defense, and this is just me spitballing here, it just occurred to me, in his defense, he had to deal with Harmony Gold.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Harmony, all this litigiousness may have been Harmony Gold's insistence.
Well, I mean, if there were ever two people that were made for each other, I think it's Kevin Symbieta and Carl Masek. I mean, those guys can fuck up a property like no one else.
Yeah, let's just put them in a box and throw them into the Marianas Trench. Maybe then, this last year, Sunrise brought out a Blu-ray of Do You Remember Love, but they can't bring it out dubbed or subbed because Masek and his stupid company are still sitting in the way.
I've still got I paid $100 for a VHS of Do You Remember Love back in my VHS 1991.
My fan dubbed one that I got in the 80s, it was a copy, or a fan subbed one, by the way, that I got in the 80s. It's a copy. I still have my VHS somewhere, but I don't have a VHS player. I feel like Spike and Jet in going to Old Earth to try to find a Betamax.
Oh, I remember.
You got my reference. Good.
Those were, the Cowboy Bebop reference, absolutely. But I also remember fan subs before subs or dubs became available. The worst, I saw a Dirty Pair fan dub where they just completely removed the audio altogether and were dubbing it themselves, but they didn't have sound effects of any kind. So, like when the chick jumps into the water, you literally hear somebody say, splash.
At least they were trying. The worst one I've ever seen, I've got a DVD set of Bubblegum Crisis.
I just made a post about this on Facebook.
Worst
dub of all
dubbing I've ever seen. Ever.
Like, if they had just stuck to the voices, it would have been fine. But then they tried to dub the music and butchered it completely.
No. And what made it even worse was that they interrupted the actual animation flow in a couple of places. And I'm sitting here going, this is trash, and I paid good money for this?
And they've never gone back and fixed it. They've never, remastered it with a new voice cast or just dubbed the original music back into it. It drives me nuts because Bubblegum Crisis is my favorite anime of all time, and the fact that it has the worst dub of all time just irritates me.
The first entrance to the first episode of Bubblegum Crisis, absolute gold, and I stack it right up, that whole cinematic thing, I stack it right up with the entire entry, the entire beginning of Do You Remember Love?
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful
100%.
panorama. Peter Jackson, eat your heart out.
I mean, it was Bubblegum Crisis on the anime side and Appleseed on the manga side that got me hardcore into Cyberpunk. I had seen Blade Runner when it first came out. Mm-hmm. I'd always loved that aesthetic. And to a lesser extent, a little-known movie called Rock and Rule, which was like an animated thing from Canada.
Dude, my name is Mock. Thanks a lot.
That's right. That is absolutely it. But it wasn't until, I started reading... the first manga I ever read was Xenon Heavy Metal Warrior. And I got that like a week before I got all the Appleseeds that were available at the time. And then, my first convention, I brought back the first 3 episodes of Bubblegum Crisis, and Jesus Christ. When I found out that there was a role-playing game that not only emulated that setting, but actually made reference to them, yeah, I was hooked. It was there.
You guys haven't asked me what my favorite role-playing system is, and you just mentioned it, Fusion.
Really? You like Fusion more than Interlock?
Yes. Fusion gives you much more complete characters. It gives you a lot more to work with. Okay, Fusion is Interlock meets Champions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Champions hooked me in 1982. But Fusion, I think, is better because for one real good reason, and I still can't figure this out, why they did this. Why did they have me write the vehicle side of Max? Why was Max Metal not just an Artalsaurian playfest? Because Artalsaurian already had the best vehicle and mecha system in the world. Still
with
does.
Mike Ton, yeah.
Road Strikers and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
And for me, for
speaking
Fusion...
Road Strikers and Bubblegum Crisis, my favorite episode, and it's the opening of it, is episode 4 with the B-12B, the bazooka hole.
Yeah.
That entire sequence where the cops go hunting him in K-11 armors.
Oh, it's beautiful.
That was Cyberpunk to me. There's your Cyberpunk. Yeah. Little on the heavy side, but you know what I mean.
I'd be hard pressed to name my favorite episode. Overall, I think episode 1.
Episode 1's very good.
Just because it introduces everything. It's the first time you see those concepts.
And the opening is really fantastic, including the boomer fight.
Really, really fantastic. It's, I think, the most violent of all the episodes, which always gets a thumbs up in my book. I think my second favorite is episode 5, where, you know, the Mad Machine, Revenge Road.
Car Wars.
With, basically Car Wars.
Well, it actually more like Death Race 2000.
Kinda, yeah.
There was Car Wars. Okay, here's a funny story. Here's a funny anecdote for you. A young friend of mine. Oh my God, he's in his 40s now. Almost. He was 9 in 1991, guys.
He's younger than us.
He was in. He volunteered to go into the Army and spent 28 months in combat zones in Iraq.
Ooh.
He started off as a radio man and graduated to Bradley driver and then Bradley gunner. Remember what I said about I was so wrong about so many things in Car Wars tanks? He gave me an awful lot of Car Wars tank stuff. But he mentioned that the supply runs from Kuwait into Iraq, because we were talking insurgencies, we went right back to Vietnam, which is right back to Car Wars.
Yeah.
The somehow or another, the cargo trucks managed to acquire armor plating and way more automatic weapons than anyone in logistics was supposed to ever have. So what you have is trucks that look like something out of Judge Dredd and the Cursed Earth.
I mean, that's kind of what Car Wars was all about anyway.
Right. Favorite Cyberpunk manga first, Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
Good old JD, 1978. No, when I saw the ad in the Space Gamer for Car Wars in 1981, I immediately said, I want that. Because if you know anything, Springfield, Missouri has about 200,000 population, and it gets over 250,000 cars on its roads every damn day.
Well, yeah, because you're right in the middle of the trade routes for everything.
Exactly. It's a trade city. The whole city's a trade route. And basically, we have all kinds of people coming in from as far away as Arkansas and Oklahoma who don't know how to drive.
There's a lot of that.
If I see someone using a turn signal in this town, it's a celebration time. And at the time, I was driving a 1973 Fury 3. 300 horsepower, 5,000 pounds of car.
That is good old Detroit steel right there.
Four-door Detroit Steelmobile road cruiser. It handled like crap in town, but on the road, on the highway, that was its element. And I had enough room under the hood to mount a couple of 50 calibers. Not like today where the hood's crammed from side to side. No, I had enough room for 50 calibers and the teams to work them too. So, and considering some of the drivers I was going, there's a bunch of y'all I would love to deuce off the road. Get out of here.
Have a couple of kids underneath the hood, like in Snowpiercer. Maintaining shit like little R2D2s.
I had a friend in high school who strapped model rockets to his station wagon than inherited. So he'd have the model rockets like along the top of the roof, and he had the switch inside the car right next to the steering wheel. So if he didn't like somebody, he would just hit a rocket and shoot it off at the person. Person would freak the hell out.
Cause traffic accidents.
Yeah, trust me, it caused quite a few close calls. He was a maniac.
But that's very Judge Dredd, except they mount real rock.
In the early '90s, there was Car Warriors, the Car Wars comic.
Yeah.
Epic put it out. It was done by Chuck Dixon and Steve Dillon. I think might have been his first American work. If not, it was certainly very early in his career. I fucking love that comic. It's only 4 issues, but like it's one of those things that nobody's ever heard of, but it's almost a must read for if you're a fan of post-apocalypse, cyberpunk, Car Wars, any of those genres.
I had to buy Car Wars and Cyberpunk, which Car Wars really, going through the background stuff on Car Wars really gave me a leg up when working for Cyberpunk, because the two are very, very similar.
Yeah, and that's one of the questions that I was having for you was that, the stuff you worked on, like Cyberpunk, Car Wars, Twilight 2000, it seemed like a lot of the stuff you worked on was like near future, post-apocalyptic, dystopian future type of genre, and I was just wondering like what drew you to like that genre and why you got into working in it.
Something actually pretty simple, really. Well, it was simple 50 years ago. I was born in 1959, 2 years after Sputnik. Okay? I was a kid growing up during the space race. I have to say, if I had to cop to any religion, that's it. Looking forward to the future. I'd even and I have made that pose, the pointing up in the air to the future. The future was bright. We did have to wear shades.
Yeah, it was a much more optimistic time.
Yeah.
Well, I was just coming off the 1950s. My father taught history and economics and sociology in high school. So the kind of things that I tried to put in Cyberpunk and other games were dinner time conversation. The byword of the 1950s was science.
Yeah.
Science.
Yes. Science. Men in lab coats pointing to the future. The kind of thing that gives you Johnny Quest.
Yeah.
I love Johnny Quest.
And even its kind of illogical successor, Thundar the Barbarian.
Love me some Thundar the Barbarian.
World of super science and sorcery. By the way, you know who did the character designs for Thundar the Barbarian? Jack Kirby.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you look at any of the villains at all. They've all got the weird headgear and the square heads. And
Gemini was kind of like a failed concept for Darkseid. But we've got some. I've rambled far enough. Let's go back to actual questions. Maybe we can make some sense here. Or not. You guys, I don't know how you guys roll. So sense may be out of the question, but we can try.
Yeah, we can try. So again, I think. Go ahead, Jarek.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, obviously, Cyberpunk is our favorite game franchise. But you've worked on so many. What was your favorite franchise that you worked on?
Cyberpunk was my favorite too.
Excellent.
Because there was, it was something that was close enough to reality that I could work with it, but also distant enough, well, sometimes, I'd write about something and then see in the newspaper less than a year later that it was already approaching, going, I've been scooped again.
Yeah, that's the one thing about the game that's kind of frightening is, granted, not all of it is accurate, but there's been quite a bit of it that has been coming to fruition, right? Especially the history and the lore. There's a lot of similarities between what was written in the 90s and the 30 years that have transpired since then. Which is kind of like always given us kind of a little bit of I don't know. It's weird. It's like, oh, cool, we knew about this before it actually happened. But it's also like, why didn't we realize this was going to happen?
A lot of the stuff that was written is pretty much logical progression.
Right.
And patterns. History, humanity goes in patterns. Well, everything we know is patterns, guys.
Yeah.
Nature is nothing but a series of patterns. Doesn't always make sense, but it tends to repeat itself.
That's the truth. Of the books you worked on for our Talsorian. Oh, yeah. Of the books you worked on for our Talsorian, you mentioned that you would have really liked to go back and correct a few things maybe, or like you'd want to redo the tank book for Car Wars. Is there anything like that?
All of Max Metal, the Powered Armor Action 2. I still have no idea why they hired away a guy who worked on Rollmaster. The Powered Armor, the vehicle section, oh my gosh, there's so many things I need to clean up. The Powered Armor section, burn it. Keep the art and keep the sidebar on ground pressure. I don't know who wrote that, but whoever it is, thumbs up, you get a cookie. It was brilliant.
Was either Derek Quintanar or Mark Colborn.
But someone who'd written for Rollmaster? No. No. When I wrote up Powered Armor Suits for Home of the Brave, or rather, Home of the Brave, and I had people, I think it was not Benjamin, but Dave Ackerman said we never saw this. We've never seen those design sheets so filled with stuff. And my thought was, I've worked on Car Wars for almost a decade, guys. Give me a break.
You got to fill up those spaces. Got to fill them up.
If there's a space left, if there's a cubic centimeter left, I'm going to cram something in it.
Yep.
Those are also military suits, so price is no object. Yeah.
True, but if it's a military suit, there's also got to be a lot of flaws too. Just because some general was like, "Yep, we're doing it this way."
Strangely enough, that's not true.
Really?
More often than not, military hardware works just as well as the civilian stuff. The reason that it's so much more complex is because it's got backups. You have a backup battery in your car?
Yeah, no.
No, but the Humvee does.
Yeah, military stuff has backup batteries.
Well, I mean, look at the fiasco with the Bradley, and how long it took to actually
Bradley was a case. Okay, what we actually ended up with the Bradley is a pretty nice piece of work.
We did, but
it just took a lot of bureaucracy to get there.
Well, the problem was we had to fight our way through a bunch of people who didn't know how things worked. And that's the people who make your design spec. Those are executives, guys.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether they're wearing rank insignia. They're still the executive suite. Think about it.
It's designed by committee, and that never, ever
It's
works.
humanity. Remember what I said about patterns? Executroids follow the same patterns. The three-piece suit, it doesn't matter if it's military or Savile Row, executives don't know how things work. No. They want someone else to solve that for them, so they come up with pie-in-the-sky stupid ideas that don't work. The Bradley was supposed to be fully armored but amphibious? No.
It doesn't.
No, that's like armor on an airplane.
Yeah.
Fast attack vehicle, but armed with like these heavy weapons.
It's supposed to take on main battle tanks and carry troops.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, it was supposed to be able to take on main battle tank. It was BMP-NP. By the way, the term for that, this abbreviation for that, the BMP was the tracked APC for the Soviets.
Yeah.
And most of us just say BIMP. BMP 2, 3, whatever. The BIMP. It was BIMP NB. They wanted a BIMP, but they want it done better. The only problem was they didn't have Gundanium or some metal that actually weighs less than dust.
Yeah.
Well, Gundanium, in order to be the mass that the RX 78-2 is, its armor has to have a lighter mass than helium.
Yeah, none of it actually works when you bring out the map. None of it.
I mean, the live action, the real size animatronic they have is over 25 tons. And it's built out of the lightest materials they could make. Mostly plastic.
Yeah, I just watched them tear it down. That was sad.
They better put it back up.
So from this conversation, I'm always because the one thing that I didn't like about Altar Saurian is, and the only book they actually did this with was Listen Up, You Primitive Screwheads. But whenever I look at a book, and it's always done by 4 to 8 authors, I always wonder who wrote what. Because it always seems like the credits for these authors were never really
it would have been better if, you're right, that would have been better if they were listed. I could figure out who wrote what because I knew their writing styles.
Right. So for example, for you with Home of the Brave, were you mostly around the U.S. Army military stuff?
Okay.
Right? So you created the whole life path and all of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Max Metal, you were into the rules, or were you more or less vehicle design?
Rules, some when I could. For instance, the combat section in Screwheads is mine.
Yes.
Obviously. Would love to rewrite that. Boy, would I love to rewrite the weapons section of Cyberpunk Red.
Amen.
I would really like to. I would keep an awful lot of their concepts, by the way.
Yeah.
They're not bad. It's just that there's a few tweaks that they need.
Well, we do talk with the current Red team with Jay Gray, James Hutt, and Rob Barefoot. So they sometimes listen to our shows too. So they will. But
I would love to rewrite that. One thing I would do, and I've seen this. I follow the Cyberpunk Red fan page on Facebook.
Yep.
And I've seen arguments about grenades, and I'm going, wow. That you could rewrite it. What I would do is I would Twilight 2K it. Grenades are deadly because they're the equivalent of an explosion shotgun blast, guys. The damage is not. If you have the kind of body armor. Oh, here's a Cyberpunk reference. Here's a movie we forgot, guys. Terminator.
Oh, we never forget Terminator.
Okay, my friend Marshall said that in 2003 when we went into Baghdad, and he heard about this because he got there late. First Mechanized Division, by the way. He got there late, but he heard from the guys that went into Baghdad who were taking fire on the street. And because of our body armor that we had, and they had the top flight body armor, they were taking hits from those AK-74s, which is an even lesser round than an M16 or an AK or an AR-4, okay? And they were getting back up. And everyone was wearing Ray-Bans because it's tropical. It's the desert, essentially, right?
Yep.
Actually, it's Mesopotamia, but that's another matter altogether. And serious as a church, the Iraqis thought that we'd send in Terminators. And Marshall was saying that the PsyOps guys, the psychological operations guys, were just tearing out their hair that they didn't know that. We could have gone in with the complete da-dum-dum-da-dum theme playing in the background and scared the wild willies out of all the inserts.
That would be beautiful.
Well, I mean, I had a friend who was in the armored division. He was like, yeah, the weaponry that the Iraqis had. This is going back to Desert Storm. Did not phase any of their weapons. It was like shooting BB guns. It was just as effective as what they were shooting at our tanks, and they were just rolling right through. And the Iraqis were like, "Oh my God, it's the end of the world. How do they get so superior?"
Well, I mean, we lost more people to friendly fire during Desert Storm than we did to enemy combatants.
That's going to happen. Okay, two things. First off, the Iraqi army got talked up big.
Yeah.
Because they were our buddies in the 1980s.
Well,
we supplied them with poison gas. And I can find a photograph of then Vice President George H.W. Bush shaking hands with Saddam Hussein.
Yep.
Because they were fighting Iran. But, intermediate rounds. Okay, here's a funny story about Iraq. After World War II, the Soviet Union dumped tons of spare weaponry into the Middle East. They didn't need it. To the point where I have seen pictures of a Hummel, that's a 15-centimeter self-propelled gun, German, SS Panzer, still found in Baghdad. During 2003, 2004, we had this funny idea that we were going to disarm Baghdad. And so my friend Marshall was still infantry at the time, and he went in with the guys. He was kind of the local gun nut of his company. Him and his executive officer's father was a rather important man in the defense industry. So, they were the gun nuts. And Marshall went on these raids, and he said in one night, he went in carrying his assault carbine and a pistol and a knife and several hand grenades and an AT-4 rocket in case they had to knock a hole in a wall. He ended up the night with 6 pistols, 2 World War II era Soviet submachine guns made in the Tula Arms Works, with full drum magazines, 3 rifles, and he said he found 2 rifles that must have dated to the Boer War in the 1900s, or in the 1800s.
Those are collectible.
He found the coolest stuff. Both of those Russian, he found a PPSH and a PPSD.
Damn.
It gets even better. In his quest, the first time they ran into the Russian submachine gun, rest of his scouts, what's this, some sort of Tommy gun? Marshall's going, I snarled at them, give me that before you hurt yourselves! With 2 loaded drum mags, dude.
Oh, that shit'll just blow up in your hands.
Those were actually reliable. Those were well-made guns. They're Russian pistols, they weren't. But in his quests, he found 2 Sturmgewehr 44s. The first true assault rifle?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
With loaded magazines. SS stamps on them. You want collectible?
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing you can say about, the militias in the Middle East is that they know how to maintain some shit. Hell, they're still using hostages that were left over in Afghanistan.
Right. He also found an MG42 in good shape with plenty of ammo. He wanted to mount it on top of the company command Humvee. His XO said, no, regs won't do that. So they sent the gun and its ammo back to their base in Baumholder, Germany. Baumholder, Germany was an SS training base in 1943, 44, 45. The gun went home, guys.
Uh-huh.
It just went on a long, strange trip and went home.
After 50 plus years.
Yeah.
That's
Keep
crazy.
on trucking. Any other subjects or questions? I don't know how much time you have.
We usually go for about 2 hours. Some guests have to cut early, some don't.
Right.
Right. So when you talk about the grenades, did you actually write the some of the rules for the explosions and listen?
No, I did not.
Was that all Mike?
I did not. I don't know who wrote it, but it's common enough. I'm not impugning whoever wrote the grenade rules for Cyberpunk Red. They're done like so many other role-playing systems are forever. And I'm sitting there going, okay, so you guys did what other people did. I'm not going to kvetch at you for that, but a grenade does multiple fragment wounds. It's like being hit by a shotgun. Body armor was specifically made to protect you from that stuff. And sometimes it will. So with a grenade, this is how Twilight 2000 did it. You rolled, a grenade does, I think, 6 dice in CD red and CP red. I think it does.
2020 was 5d6, but...
Well, it does 66 in Cyberpunk Red.
In Cyberpunk Red, yep.
Right. I'll just call it CP Red because, it sounds like CD Red and it's a good association. Okay. What I would have it would do 3 2-dice attacks.
Huh, okay. Yeah.
Instead of 6 dice all at once.
Right, because of the damage over the body.
If you caught...
For Interlock Unlimited, what I did was I kept the box for range, and the damage became incremental. In addition to the damage being incremental, depending on how far away you were from the grenade, it also, you roll a number of hit locations based on that distance as well.
I agree. You would take D3 hits, 2d6 hits in each, and yes, body armor would be strikingly effective because those are low velocity projectiles.
Yeah.
Now, body armor works great against a shotgun, except for the fact that a shotgun usually hits you with more impacts, and unless you have some rigid armor on you, it is going to hurt like an MFer. The story may be apocryphal, but I heard one about a guy shot with a shotgun. He was wearing a level 1 Kevlar vest. This is back in the 80s. He was hit with a shotgun, full on. The vest prevented all the shotgun pellets from penetrating. However, it caused such an impact. Kevlar spreads out impact across its surface, right?
Yep.
It caused it's like impact on his torso that it broke all the capillaries in the front of his torso, and he died by blood loss.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's like getting hit by a battering ram. I mean,
a truck.
Like those early, like lower level armors, they disperse the damage over an area, but you're still getting hit with all that impact force, and that shit's deadly. Like the force is as deadly as the shrapnel itself.
Because we're not made out of rigid materials.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if you take the impact force, spread it out across something like, well, you know something? An impact explosion would even damage someone like Atom Smasher. For one reason. His brain is still subject to concussion.
Yeah.
Well, that's if the fluid his brain is in.
But there's still soft tissue somewhere in there.
There is, but from a concussion point of view, it's like you have to think about the technology that there's there. And for me, like I would argue from a game master point of view is, well, there's the technology of nanites, and nanites should be able to handle any type of impacts. Yes, if he falls from a plane from 5,000 feet, he's probably going to take some damage, but
actually, no. The only way to stop that would be complete rigid containment. And a human-sized cyborg, isn't big enough for that. And if you're talking any kind of impact spreading that relies upon a liquid movement, a wave movement, concussion travels really well through waves. Now, mind you, it would be significantly damped. It would take a big concussion. He could be hit by Optimus Prime in truck form and still come out of it dazed, confused, and probably a little more stupid, but who's going to notice that?
with an intelligence of, what, 4 or 3? I forget what it is.
If any of you all are Judge Dredd fans, when I look at Adam Smasher, I look at Mean Machine Angel.
In terms of personality, absolutely.
Without humor. And about as bright, too.
Yeah. Turn it up to 4, Paw.
Yeah. No. The Judge Dredd Lobo crossover. Where when the big fight's about to begin, Dredd tosses a pair of cuffs to Lobo and says, "Cuff yourself, I'll be back for you later." And for once in his entire comic career, Lobo is speechless. Because he's just looking at the cuffs with this, what the F look. And over at the corner, Mean Machine says, "Yep, there's Dreddy for you."
Yeah, he's Angel in a or he's Mean Machine in a ABC Warrior body.
Pretty much. Oh, Hammerstein would put him down.
Yeah.
You are useless. And Rojas would say, "Not exactly useless, my friend. He's a real great battering ram, isn't he?" And that's how Arasaka uses him. Because, the only vital point in there is his brain, and it's hard to hit it so small.
Yeah, we actually talked to Benjamin about Adam.
Oh, yeah. It still gets me. Benjamin wrote him as a throwaway character.
I know. And how big he is today because of the because of the game and edgerunners.
So many people who come away from the game or the anime with all these weird impressions of these of the Cyberpunk lore characters. It amuses me to no end. The Adam Smasher, the cult that is built up around him, or
Rach.
People treating Johnny Silverhand as this, sympathetic fucking character.
No. Okay, the guys at CD Projekt Red worked a miracle.
Yeah.
They did.
They made Johnny Silverhand into someone that I can respect, and actually I applaud their work. That was genius. That was writing genius. If for no other reason, I would place Cyberpunk 2077 among the stars, if for no other reason than the apotheosis of Johnny Silverhand. That was gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, they certainly did a really good job of like tricking everybody, because if you only play the game, you only know what Johnny Silverhand tells you, and Johnny Silverhand lies through his teeth about absolutely everything in the game. Like every word that comes out of his mouth is to manipulate you or somebody else.
Oh, and he's also a manipulative jerk. That's his job. He's a rocker boy.
It's totally his job. And it lets you know, like, he tries to play himself off as, Samurai was this dive bar band that, we never sold out. In the meantime, they're selling out fucking, Wembley Arena and going on world tours, and they're the biggest band in the universe. Like, 70 years after they started, their music is still, like, the most prevalent thing on the radios.
Yeah, but I think the game was a little contradictory on itself, in that, you talk to some of the NPCs and they were like, "Samurai? That old band? No one listens to that anymore." Meanwhile, you see like every other freaking NPC walking down the street with a Samurai shirt on.
Dude, what really kills me are the Samurai vinyl album just laying in the streets everywhere.
I know, Craig, you haven't played the game, but both of us are big fans of the
Jeff
game.
did. He told me a lot about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the best games I've ever played. It's definitely one of the best stories in a game. It's in my top 3 with alongside Red Dead Redemption 2 and Last of Us 1 story-wise. But the real draw is just being able to walk around Night City. Like, that is... I can do that endlessly for hours.
May I put in a really public plug? Dear CD Projekt Red, please continue with the anime series. Make the next one about corporates. Please.
So,
Please.
just
if you want to see more animated works, I don't want to see like a continuation of those stories. I definitely want to see different stories. And personally, I'd like for them to go with a different studio.
I have a feeling that they will.
Studio Trigger is well named because, they trigger epileptic events.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but I don't like how over the top everything was.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to ignore every law of physics out there and just turn into a superhero.
All right, here's a dream. Wouldn't it be nice to see them get the same bunch that does Ghost in the Shell?
Yeah, Studio IG, that would be fantastic.
It's possible.
I'd be happy with the studio that does Cowboy Bebop.
Hey, come on, shoot for the moon, why don't you?
Well, yeah. If you're going to say Studio IG, which is pretty much Mamoru Oshii only projects.
Cowboy Bebop, the coolest thing that will ever have been on television.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
Not the best, the coolest. There's a difference.
I mean, it's definitely the coolest, and it's in the top 5 best of all time. Like, as far as animated, like, ongoing series go, even though it only had 1 season, it's number 1.
Yeah, so...
The music alone. Cowboy Bebop was anime's love letter to the Blues Brothers.
Yeah. Also,
to
Craig...
the Blues Brothers, to Bruce Lee, to, just Hong Kong cinema.
Well, I'm talking the music.
Yeah.
Music-wise, yeah, it is...
Remember, the Blues Brothers movie was made as a love letter to jazz. Yeah,
and I love jazz.
Yeah. And, of course, Yoko Kanno, holy cow.
Yeah, she's never done a soundtrack that wasn't phenomenal.
Yeah, she's the Japanese version of John Williams.
Yeah. Except she's more punchy. I mean, Jesus Christ, she gave us Cowboy Bebop. She gave us Macross Plus. She gave us, Escaflowne. It just goes on and on. Like, she's
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell. Like it really for music-wise, composition, score, like, she's the best.
So one thing I wanted to tell you, Craig, was that CDPR is working with Anonymous, which is a studio, to do a live-action adaptation or some type of fiction work for Cyberpunk. So it's going to be like a live... They're not... I don't know if they've decided on who or what streaming service they're going to be working with, but that is in the works. As for the anime, they still don't know if there's going to be working with another anime studio. I know with Trigger, they started like before the game even released. They were working with Trigger to get this out. If you take a page from what they've been doing with Dark Horse, so Dark Horse, they've had basically they've been producing like a 4-issue series for Cyberpunk, and each series is a different author, different artists.
And
so
you can do that anthology.
Yeah.
As for the live action, I was just thinking, okay, live action, how would that work? And then I just thought of 2 very successful live action projects that worked like gangbusters for Cyberpunk. Before I even saw Bubblegum Crisis, who remembers 20 Minutes into the Future?
Well, yeah.
And the other one? 2012 Judge Dredd with Urban.
Yes.
I mean, Dredd is one of those perfect movies that should have gone so much farther than it did. We should have had like 2 or 3 sequels already to it. Like,
you know what happened? You know what happened because of that movie in the comic publishing? Did you hear?
No.
What's that?
Okay, the 2012 movie was based on a graphic novel that they did.
Yeah.
Okay, they had a sequel to the graphic novel that came out in 2012 after the movie. It sold through its first 3 printings before it even made it to the printers.
Yeah, I remember that.
The pre-orders were so huge because people wanted to find out more of the story. This is what is called cross-marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I said, the fact that everybody, like, I don't understand the studios behind these decisions, because, yeah, when it was out in theaters, it didn't do well, but that was because nobody fucking knew it existed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Since then, it's gained an immense cult following. Like, Carl Urban wants to return to the character. He's wanted to return to the character since day one.
And unfortunately, that stupid pandemic interrupted the series that was supposed to appear on Netflix.
Yeah, we were watching that real close.
But I mean, if you look at like the recent 10, 15 years, you had things like Black Mirror that came out on Netflix, Alt Carbon, that really kind of pushed. And granted, Alt Carbon has an influence of more far future than Cyberpunk, but I think it kind of blended that area versus Black Mirror, which really, to me, seemed very, very close to the Cyberpunk, close future, dystopia, and all of that. Mm-hmm. The one series that I really liked, which was on Sci-Fi that they canceled, was Incorporated, which I thought
love
was
that show so fucking much.
A great series, and really captured. I think it was closer to Cyberpunk 2020 universe than other Cyberpunk series.
You wanted to fucking get a hold of, and I don't know. In the mid to late 2000s, there were just all these different Cyberpunk shows that I could never have dreamed of actually making it, but they only ever lasted one season.
Yeah.
Being Human with Carl Urban was fantastic. And it only lasted one season, and it drives me nuts that these shows don't get a chance.
I may hazard an opinion as to why that is. By the way, my college degree is basically in advertising and media. So I understand way too much about advertising. That's why I hate it. But if I may opine as to why we only had a single season, there has been... You have to go back to the 1960s. Set the Wayback Machine for the 1960s. Actually, the 1950s. Okay. No, set it back to 1940, late 1943, early 1944, with the Army Air Force Bureau of Statistical Analysis, the head of which was a man named McNamara, Robert McNamara. They came to the conclusion, this bureau did, and they made a study on, was it cost effective to have fighter escorts for strategic bombing of Germany? And McNamara walked this report up to Hap Arnold, the head of the Army Air Force, put it down, and Arnold took one look at it, and the statistics said it was actually less expensive to let bombers be shot down than to provide escorts. Not cost effective. Arnold called McNamara a couple of well-deserved names that you don't use in flight company, told him to get the blank out of my office and never come back, and then threw that report in the trash. All right, fast forward to the 1950s. A new school of American economic thought is forming called the Chicago School. You guys ever heard of it?
No.
Money, 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 money. Greed is good. Money, 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 money. Greed is good.
You mean the 1980s?
By people, managed by reports. Yeah. And Robert McNamara got put in charge of he became Secretary of Defense during Vietnam. During an inspection as Secretary of Defense, this guy was all about, he's an accountant, guys. He was all about saving money, maximizing profits, which you don't do with the military.
Especially in times of war. Like, Robert McNamara is one of the leading causes of why...
he's responsible for our downfall today. because he was the great pundit of the Chicago school. He was on the USS Enterprise when they were on a inspection tour. When the Enterprise, the Big E, was supposed to launch a bombing run. Report came in that there was a pilot down. The bombing run got scrubbed for pilot rescue. McNamara rounds on the admiral in charge of the task force and says, "No, the pilot is expendable. Commence with the run." Dead silence on the deck, in the command deck. And the admiral says finally, "I'll give you 5 minutes to get the hell off my ship, sir."
Yeah.
Because the admiral knew that every man on the carrier would want to kill him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Chicago school.
Overboard that night.
Yeah, the Chicago school holds that profits this quarter are more important than the company's survival next year.
Yeah,
maximize profits now.
Way to Reaganomics.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You don't know how many downfall of corporations that's happened to.
Exactly. By the way, guys, I call it Reaganetics because it's the economic equivalent of Dianetics.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Reaganetics. Spread the word. Reaganetics. It's just as stupid. It's just as stupid as Scientology. And why do we only get one season? Because there's not an immediate return, or there's not enough immediate return. No one in business, no one in the executive suites wants to wait for more than 3 months or 6 months at the worst. Okay. No. Either it didn't make enough money to warrant a second season immediately, or the people who had been in charge of pushing it have now left because it did make enough money and thereby I don't care. I'm not letting the door hit me. Or screw it, we made our money, we don't need to do anything more. It's a Kickstarter one and done thing.
That may be one of the better things that came about with the streaming era is shows that would not have made it on network television or broadcast television can gain enough of an audience through rerun or through binge watching and multiple watching.
Reruns is what builds an audience.
Yeah.
But yes, the reason I tittered there was I remembered the episodes of Family Guy where Peter listed every show Fox canceled.
Yeah.
Where it took minutes for him to list off all those shows.
Or shows that, they canceled and then, a couple years later they bring back because the fan base were so adamant on bringing it back. So, changing subjects. Did you ever get to play with Mike at any cons, or
nope.
It was kind of like more of
I was always
distance?
Busy. He was always busy.
Yeah. So, did you ever attend cons in which he was at, or even meet him?
GenCon, 1991 through 95. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you ever meet any of the other authors from Our Tessorian?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Douglas? What's that? Sorry.
I was just asking if you ever gamed with any of them, or if any of your characters made the list of iconic.
I didn't make up characters for that. I made up game rules.
Oh.
Okay.
Funny fact. Okay, here it is. I consider myself. I do not use the term game mechanics because a mechanic is someone who works on machines. I use the term game mechanisms.
Okay.
I'm a game mechanic. I'm not a big idea guy. You give me an idea of what you want done, and I'll throw together something that hopefully will work. In many ways, I'm an orc mech boy from 40K.
Should it be
more
a
nails?
But I guess Mike.
Oi! Hand me the welder. I'm gonna staple this bit on. With a welder. Shut up! I'm gonna staple it on with a welder. Shut up! I'll do it.
Need more DACA.
So should it be?
Always needs more DACA. What's wrong with you? And it needs to be painted red and have flame decals on it.
So really, it should be called a game architect.
No. An architect
because you're designing
someone who designs things from the ground up. A mechanic is a bodger. I'm a backyard mechanic. I take stuff that I find in other places and throw it all together and hammer nails into it until it works.
Yeah, but that's what architects do. They take different pieces of different designs and throw them together to make it cohesive.
My younger brother worked in architecture. What I do is way different.
Yeah.
I'm the guy who fixes the things that the architects missed.
Yeah.
And architects frequently miss details.
So
something shows up in reality that, as it turns out, Murphy's Law is real.
Right. Yeah, it is. You wrote the rules, right? With listen up, you primitive screwheads.
Combat section, that was additions to the Friday Night Firefight.
Yes.
Now, I would love to tweak the CD Projekt or the CP Red rules, but they don't need that much, just a little tweaking.
Yeah.
They're not bad. They're pretty much based on Fusion. And they're not bad. It just needs a tweak here and there.
Yeah, it's weird to me that they're calling it interlock when it's closer to Fusion. Like they kept almost all of the changes made to Fusion, and then the changes they did make with Red are more towards your generic RPG systems, like getting rid of the hit point or the hit locations and stuff like that.
So one of the other things, and not to get too far off topic, one of the things that both me and Derek have been kind of questing after is we're looking for the artist Doug Anderson. Do you have?
Sorry, I couldn't tell you about art contacts. I never knew any of the artists.
We always try.
Okay, I take that back. I have met Bryce Nakagawa.
Okay.
Ooh.
Bryce Nakagawa. He did a lot of the military illustrations in Home of the Brave.
Okay. Yeah.
And I met the gal who did at Gen Con. I met the gal. I saw her. I saw her at her table. The gal who did the illustrations of the exotics.
Okay.
From Chrome 3.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's... Well, yeah. Are you still in contact with either of them?
Oh. No, although I could get a hold of Bryce through my friend Phil. That's how I met Bryce, because my friend Phil Morrissey knows him.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, we're always looking for illustrators or anyone who did the old content for our shows, and more contacts we have, the hopefully better we have. And one of our, I guess,
I don't know much about the art side.
Yeah.
Pretty much the only people I had contact with was Benjamin and Dave Ackerman.
Yeah, both of them we have on the show, and Benjamin.
Well, yeah, Benjamin introduced me to you.
Yeah, Benjamin actually is on my server, and he's kind of a bit of a contributor and real nice guy. I mean, it seems like all the Artausorian guys have always been just like great people to talk with.
It's wacky looking at their pictures now. I still remember Benjamin as this kid, like 20, maybe.
Yeah, so I had a question about that with your profile picture. Are you made out of stone, and do you always carry a battle axe wherever you go?
I don't have a lot of photographs of myself. Once I got out of high school, I think I've had 3, maybe 4 photographs taken of me since then, and most of those have been in the digital age. That's a caricature of me that my friend Phil Morrissey did up for my greeting card.
Oh, nice.
For my business card.
Ah.
I literally didn't have a photograph to send them.
Yeah, Benjamin actually sent me your business card. I was like, hey, that's the same same illustration he used in Listen Up, You Primitive Screwheads.
And the motto is basically, I came, I saw, I sat in judgment, because that was harking back to my capsule reviews.
So is that picture supposed to be you're made out of stone, or is it a
bust? You know, it's a bust like you'd have on a plinth or on a stair, or or on your desk. Yeah, it's a stone bust.
Top of the head, there's a phone there.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's me and an axe because I was a hatchet man.
Yeah. The other question I had from your bio was, how much does a professional griper get as a salary?
Oh, I get royalties? Back in the day, I was getting 5 cents a word.
Oh, as a griper?
I was making about the equivalent of $30,000 an hour, or pardon me, 30,000 a year, 30,000 per annum back in 1994, 95.
Damn.
That was about $15,000 then, guys.
Yeah.
Inflation has been wicked.
I mean, for a gaming writer and editor, that in the 90s, that was pretty good.
And then bottom fell out because everyone collapsed. Everyone invested in the collectible card craze.
Yeah.
And it killed everyone. It killed TSR, guys.
It killed. Yeah, I remember when Magic first hit. I was working in a comic book store at the time, and it just two things happened that blew my mind: Pogs and Magic the Gathering. And I was completely baffled as to either of them. Like Pogs, I knew were just gonna be a flash in the pan, but Jesus Christ, were those humongous in like '94? Like everywhere you looked, there was bottle caps as a game.
Yeah. Well, and the only game company that survived all that mess that I know of that invested in it was, now we're back to Steve Jackson and his deal with A-Devil.
Yeah.
Frankly,
that makes sense.
I think Evil Stevie did one thing right. His collectible card game, Illuminati New World Order, they weren't printed on playing card material. They're thicker. I don't believe he went to playing card companies to get his printed. The reason playing cards was expensive back then, there were only like 3 printers in all of North America that made them.
Yep.
One of them up in Kansas City. Now, Derek, who's the biggest market for that kind of cardboard in Kansas City?
Baseball, football.
Nope. Hallmark.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Hallmark.
Where's Hallmark headquartered? Kansas City.
Kansas City, and they've got a huge store in Crown Center.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you wanted your cards made, you had to make them when Hallmark didn't have every press busy. That wasn't easy. They were Hallmark monopolized those. Yeah. Hallmark had those presses busy 6 months out of the year.
Yeah, just printing out garbage.
Yep.
I had never put the 2 and 2 together before. Thank you. That explains so much.
It's a shame. I'm sad that it killed all my business. Well, okay, GDW had died years earlier, largely because Frank Chadwick was not a good money manager.
No, they put out some great games while they were around, but...
As a matter of fact, Frank wrote some good war games that I wish I had. I'm really annoyed that I don't have them. He did some good war games. Making role-playing games, he hated role-playing games. He was an old-school war gamer. And he didn't like fantasy much either.
GDW put out so many really good tabletop games.
Bunches of them. Really good stuff.
So, speaking of you said earlier, we asked you about Ray Spartmos's Brainware Blowout.
Yeah. Two programs, yes. What
part of that did you write?
I edited it. I didn't write much.
Oh, okay.
Which means I was the poor schmuck that put it together. Tried to, correct typos and spelling, and I did alter a little bit of the grammar to try and make it a little tighter, and little things like that. Editing is a pain in the caboose.
I can only imagine.
My worst editing job you mentioned earlier. Uncle Al's Catalog from Hell. No, that's the actual name.
Yes. I know that's the actual name. I've got a copy of it.
That was my biggest moneymaker. It still makes me royalties every month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. There is this about working for Steve Jackson. He doesn't pay you up front. He pays royalties. Smart move. He doesn't have to pay money until he has it. But he, like his Kickstarter, he sticks with it. The royalties from those games stop when A, the game stops selling, B, I die, or C, Steve dies.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, it certainly served Kenneth Hitwell, or however you pronounce his name.
Mm-hmm. Evil Stevie. But yeah. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of Cyberpunk, once I actually got to sit down, I sat down and thought out the technology of Car Wars. Mad Max at 8. In Car Wars, you're capable of controlling a several-ton hunk of metal and plastic, mostly plastic, hurtling along at 30 to 40 miles an hour easily, while and at the same time managing weapons fire in a 360-degree arc.
Yeah.
That takes a level of technology. That takes a level of face-reading technology that started with the gunner's helmet for the Airacobra and continues to this day. You're not flipping buttons. You're basically twitching.
You're not spinning a turret by hand. That's all.
Think about this. You can have a turret with an autocannon in it. You can have a turret with a 300-pound cannon in it that can swap ends in 1/10 of a second. Holy guacamole dip! What are you driving that with?
It's a bit over the top. Even
forget the rest of the car. You're replacing all the electrical motors to your turret every battle.
Yeah, it's operation at the speed of thought.
At the speed of silly.
Yeah, I mean it stretches the laws of physics almost as bad as edgerunners does.
That's almost Armored Core levels.
Yeah.
Great game, fun game, and it was a genius move for them to simply ignore inertia and Newtonian physics.
Yeah, I mean, well, it wasn't like originally. It wasn't supposed to be a role-playing game at all. It was just like a board game.
Mm-hmm.
Something to let you play with your Matchbox cars and shit.
Right. Well, Car Wars, yes, but Armored Core is what I was meaning, where you have mecha that are changing direction like UFOs.
Yeah, like what was that? The Explorers, where it's just a force field that moves in space and can go or stop or turn instantly. Yeah.
Which is how we achieve faster than light speed. If we can just get the energy requirements down to that less than that of a supernova.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on it.
Well, it's funny.
Science!
There's this guy James Carpio, who actually did some work for our Talsorium for V3. And he was mentioning how much Max Metal was kind of like his Car Wars / Battletech / Mechon system that him and his friends would go to. Basically, they would just create the various vehicles and ACPAs and just play just battles with those rules.
Oh, and complete falsehood coming out of my mouth right now. I never thought about Car Wars even once while designing the vehicles for Mass Metal. Nope, never.
It definitely does not show at any point at all.
No, totally different things.
I mean, I'll say this.
I mean, Car Wars has spaces, but Max Metal has spaces.
Yes, exactly. And in an upcoming game that we're working on out of the old 1980s Dinky Dungeon line, I'm rewriting Small Space. Spaceships have closets.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, no, the unit of measurement for a spaceship is the closet.
It beats the banana.
Which is, ironically or unironically, almost exactly the amount of cubic space there is in a space in Car Wars. Coincidence?
Oh shit! That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's the one thing.
With the old system, we've had people make the Enterprise D, Star Destroyers, and even the Death Star using my rules.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's the one concept I think.
Like Legos.
Here's the deal. I don't know if you're familiar with any of the cyberpunk internet sites. I don't know if you've ever been to Will's site or mine. But the
Will Moss?
No, Will me.
Will
Cybersmily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been to Datafortress2020 or Cybersmily.net, but Max Metal gave us, above and beyond everything else, it gave us a uniform system for vehicles. Before that, there was no consistency to them in how they were statted out at all.
Yeah, it was just catch as catch can. Believe you me, trying to make up a system that would accommodate all the other vehicles that had come before in the Chromebooks. That was my biggest problem.
I can only imagine what a nightmare that was.
Including some that I'd made up, that I just pulled straight out of, my ventral orifice. I call it my dorsal orifice. Joke that I got from an old book series called Retief of the CDT by Keith Laumer, the guy who invented bolos.
Okay.
You guys never read that?
No.
Oh, for Christ's sake. You need to find the book Bolo. It's an anthology by Keith Laumer. Read it. It is cyberpunk as heck. It also gave rise to Ogre. The Bolo is the cyber tank. Literally. The self-aware cyber tank. And there's some really good... This is why I want to see in Fallout, just in the distance, I want to see an overgrown and wrecked Mark V Ogre. That would be
cool.
What would make it even better is if you could go up and talk to it.
I mean, I just want any kind of, vehicle that works in
Boy, that'd make quick travel it'd make quick travel more fun.
Yeah.
But the ventral orifice is from a comment from a non-human, from an alien, about a guy who's trying to contact who's Pomfreutic all same organ cluster up ventral orifice.
It's always thought like
if you think about it.
I always thought like from Ogre, and granted I've never played the game and really gotten into it, but it always seemed like they're Daleks with a bigger suit, as it were.
Right. It's a fun little war game. It's a great little miniatures game. It still stands up. And guys, it was in 1977 was when it was made. It's a good little war game.
Yep.
The role-playing game is the single deadliest role-playing game I've ever seen.
Wow, more so than Traveler?
Way more.
Wow, that's...
Okay, the powered armors that you have, the armor on them is capable of withstanding a 0.04 kiloton surface blast. That's the equivalent of 40 tons of TNT, and you're lying on top of it. That's on the powered armor, guys.
It's impressive.
That's 40 millimeters of armor.
Throwing those kind of weapons around, that's unless you're in that powered armor, you're pretty much
even then you're dead because the weapons you have are built to defeat that. And you have like 10 hit points, and the weapons you have 10 to 15 hit points, and the weapons are doing hundreds.
Nice.
It is also the first game that I saw where you could select as a disadvantage that your character is a brain in a jar. 1950s bad B-movie style.
That is... Man, I really need to check that out.
GURPS Ogre is where you find that. It's a great... GURPS. Not that great a role-playing system, but the source books are items of love.
Truly.
Wow.
Like,
researched.
I don't play GURPS, but I've got just a ton of GURPS source books
Same here.
Well, seeing as Cyberpunk GURPS was caused Steve Jackson to get raided by the FBI.
Okay, here's a story from an editor of mine, Mike Hurst. Great guy. He edited Car Wars Tanks, and he was such a good editor, I couldn't tell what he changed without going back and looking at my original draft.
Nice.
He was great. Okay, the day that happened, when the FBI shows up. No, it was not the FBI. It was the Secret Service. By the way, what they did was illegal.
The Treasury Department.
Yeah, and according to the Constitution, it was illegal.
Well.
But that was Ed Meese, the Attorney General, Reagan's Attorney General, who sounds like someone that Trump would hire.
Yeah, I mean...
Ed Meese is dead. He was the Just Say No to Drugs guy.
That's way too liberal for Trump.
Ouch. Ouch. The idea was that, among other things, the guy who was writing GURPS Cyberpunk was in contact with someone from the, and I can't believe I'm having to explain this, but it's the truth. It was a hacker group that called themselves the Legion of Doom. I am not putting you on.
I believe it.
I remember reading about the Legion of Doom. Yeah, they hacked into some pretty serious stuff back then.
Right. Well, they were helping. By the way, GURPS Cyberpunk has the most realistic and accurate net running rules ever, because the Legion of Doom people were helping. But
they're like, this is what hacking actually is.
But because Ed Meese was in favor of attacking easy targets, like many, he was essentially a small town prosecutor. Let's go after the hookers and the druggies, right?
Yeah.
And he sent the Secret Service to raid because the FBI said no, there's no case. The FBI said, they turned him down. And so he sent them to raid Steve Jackson. So Mike tells me, I was talking to him on the phone not too long after, and he says, okay, I drove up to work, and I see all these black cars around, and all these guys in three-piece suits wearing Ray-Bans with M16s, and they've all got wires running down from their ears into their coat pockets. I turned around and left.
Yeah, that's what you do. I'm not asking no questions.
Now, wait a minute. You guys watch Gravity Falls?
Yes.
Okay, remember the episode at the end of the second season when Stan actually got the gate going and Stanford comes through and those two federal agents are raiding the Mystery Shack?
Yeah.
And Wendy comes riding up on her bike, takes one look and turns around. It's a parody of something that happened in real life to my editor.
That's beautiful. I would have never made the correlation that it was directly influenced by the
It
Steve
may or may
Jackson
not have been, but it looks like it was.
It sounds exactly like what happened.
Wendy just nope.
Yeah, just nope, right the fuck on out of there. That's what you do. You no questions, no curiosity, just I'm getting out of here.
And I have the first edition that has this big splash thing on the front. Seized by the Secret Service.
Got the same one.
Well, I watched this documentary.
Got the last laugh.
I watched this documentary about hackers of the 90s. And this one guy who was like the hacker because he was using like social engineering. So he would just like call up companies and get, the latest computers because, hey, we're over at this other branch and we need to have, this prototype sent to me immediately. Can you ship it overnight? And he would he was just a marvel at just social engineering as a hacking.
And there's my idea of the combat netrunner. You actually break into places.
Yeah.
Because instead of goofing around online for passwords, which is going to throw up red flags very quickly, instead of that, you simply break in or you walk in, Mission Impossible style. And when I say Mission Impossible, I do not mean the movies. I need the 1960s TV show.
But it was...
You walk in disguise, as a delivery man or something, and then, or even better, the best spy in the world, guys? A janitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they see everything.
Yeah,
and nobody ever questions them.
And this guy would do shit like that, right? So finally, the FBI caught up to him. Right? They go to his apartment. They knock on his door. He answers the door. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're looking for so and so." Because and he looks both FBI agents in the face and is like, "That guy doesn't live here." And he starts to close the door. And the FBI agent's like, "Oh, okay," and started walking away. And then one of them was like, "Wait a minute." As he almost closed the door on these guys, and they're like, "Hey, what's your name?" He's like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah, for sure.
But he's like, he almost got away with it.
Yeah, hang on here. I'm looking it up.
So, just so you know, we're about 5 minutes out from where we usually end.
I know.
And trust me, it's been wonderful talking with you. Before we do finish up, do you have any questions for me or Derek?
Really? I hope that you sent me some links to your pages and sites, because I'll contribute and stuff.
Oh, cool. Oh, excellent. Yeah, I'm always here for feedback. You have access to my server, so my Discord server, right. So we have a dialogue. Well,
okay. I'm on your server. I'm putting up a when it comes to social engineering.
Yeah.
You guys need to look up and watch that episode of Hawaii Five-0.
Is that the new series or the old series?
The original with Jack Lord.
Oh shit, we're going way back.
This is the Monopoly Bandit episode. A guy who used disguises and social engineering to pull off robbery after robbery. It is the single best episode of the original Hawaii Five-0.
Hawaii Five-0 over 50?
Yeah. Over 50? Yeah. And at the time, it was a hell of an episode, too. Because basically, it's about a disgruntled employee who's terminated because he's getting close to collecting his pension. It's about a corporation that fires a good employee just so he can't collect his pension. How cyberpunk is that?
Nice. Yeah, it is.
That's pretty damn cyberpunk.
Uh-huh. And the guy takes his revenge. It would make a wonderful cyberpunk episode of anything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of writing scenarios around that in my head right now.
Mm-hmm. He also drove McGarrett and his crew nuts because the guy was practically uncatchable. He was really a villain from a Sherlock Holmes story.
Yeah, sounds like it. Kind of Moriarty-esque.
The guy is the kind of guy that would vex Holmes. He would vex Moriarty, too. So like, wait a minute, how's he getting away? He's always one step ahead of us.
Like a prototype for a more malevolent Frank Abagnale.
Yeah, I'll check it out, man.
Okay, if I could, he's more along the lines of someone that Lupin III met, that sat down and talked with Lupin, and Lupin got a lot of ideas from.
That makes sense.
Because non-violent, no fist cuff, not a single punch thrown, not a single gun drawn. Just brain versus brain.
Well,
I love Lupin.
On that note, we're kind of at time, Craig.
Right, that's cool. I've enjoyed this. Thank you much.
I definitely. I'm
free for more. I'm free for more insanity every now and then.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
I was just getting ready to say, like, you are always going to be welcome back. Pretty much at any time.
Yep.
some notice preferable, but yeah, you are welcome back. You have been a fantastic guest.
Yeah, and like I originally said to you, we do this every first and third Wednesday of the month around this time. I know that you are have a new job.
Fourth, I may be doing recordings on weekends with you.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah, we can also arrange that, schedule something else. But we do appreciate all your time. Great talking with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one last real quick question.
Yeah.
Is there anything you're working on now?
Outside of small space and stuff for our own goofy little dinky dungeons line, no.
Okay.
Well, not work-wise. I've got miniatures coming out my... I've got miniatures coming out of places I didn't know I had. I've got over 170 tanks left in the just from this bit of Ogre. I've got Warhammer miniatures in every direction. I still need to finish that figure of Mirko, the bunny girl from My Hero Academia. Yeah.
These are hobby projects, I assume.
These are all hobby projects. Well, the Mirko figure's for a friend.
Got it.
I mean, it all sounds awesome to me.
I don't have room for many figures, although don't have room for a lot of figures. And before I head on out, let's see. Do I actually have that picture? Send you a photo. I'll see if I don't have a photograph that I can send you.
Sure.
You're welcome to hang out with us after the show and chat.
Yeah, and
okay.
Whatever you want, we can post it on my site. My server.
You can go ahead and shut off the show if you want to. I'll no sweat.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll chat in just a bit. And for our regular audience, I know it's small, but we're slowly growing. So hopefully everyone can check us out. If you don't listen to us live, hopefully on YouTube or either the podcast. If you are, by all means, put comments. I do try to watch old episodes and reply to comments, especially on the YouTube. But you can also check me out. I have my Cyberpunk site, which is dedicated towards Cyberpunk 2020 as well as Red. Got a bunch of utilities to help with your game. I have my own Discord server. I also hang out on tons of other Discord servers. I actually surprised some people who mentioned my site and they didn't know I was a lurker. So when I chimed in about, hey, what's going on with my site, and they were like, it's nice to see some appreciation that people are actually using my site. So I'm there. Cybernation Uncensored. We do have a channel over on that Discord server as well. You can post questions or suggest any other content you would like us to talk about. I'm also hanging out on various Reddit sites. If you try to get me on Facebook, Instagram, or any of those other mainstream social medias, I tend to stay away from them because I don't know. It's just it's no longer. What was it? Not Twitter, X. I don't know. Those places are just a little too more crazy for me, but Derek?
All right, I'm Derek Bernier, otherwise known as Wisdom000. I run, since 1996, I've run Datafortress2020, the largest and most comprehensive Cyberpunk 2020 site out there. You can find source books, rules, gear, really anything, including a huge archive of other mostly gone sites now. I also run am either administrator or moderator for the Datafortress 2020 group on Facebook and the Cyberpunk 2020 group on Facebook. So you can find me there. You can find me on Reddit, where I tend to, snipe questions or snipe comments every now and then. You can find me on Will's Discord, as well as the Cybernation Uncensored Discord. You can find me. I think that might be about it. I'm not on Twitch. I'm not on Instagram or any of that. But if you can, reach out to us with your comments, criticisms, complaints, suggestions. We love hearing from you. Anything you think we can do to make the show better, by all means, send us a message. We'd like to thank Rob Mulligan at Cybernation Uncensored for hosting us. And we'd like to thank Craig Sheely for being our guest tonight.
Here, here.
Yeah. We will see you. What's the next date?
It's actually going to be June 1st. Or no.
Yeah, June
May
1st.
May Day.
Oh, shit. May Day. May Day. May Day. Yeah, we will see you May 1st.
Beowulf.
That is 2 weeks from now.
It's going down.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning us in. Like he said, you can also find us at the Cybernation, at the Tales from the Forlorn Dopes playlist on Cybernation Uncensored for our past episodes and interviews. And we look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks.
Thank you all for listening. Ta-ta.
Cybersmily.